First, I just do not understand the mentality of this. William Hague today is going to expand the support that this country gives the Syrian political opposition fighting President Bashar Assad. I hope to be talking to Bashar Assad's cousin. In fact, I hear that Ribal Al Assad is on the phone now, cousin of President Assad. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time.
No, good afternoon to you, James. It's great talking to you again.
Now, you're the founder of the Organization for Democracy and Freedom in Syria.
Yes.
First, is this money that we are going to be giving the rebels absolutely not going to find its way into buying weapons?
Well, actually, I welcome the medical part of it, but the other part that talks about, for example, communication and other, like body armors and other, which is considered to be non-lethal, is a bit absurd because we have to know, and I'm sure Mr. Hague knows very well, that there are other parties on the ground, that are funding, Gulf countries that are funding and giving lethal weapons to the opposition in Syria. So this is very dangerous. Also, what's the criteria used? How do we know where this weapons or where this aid is going to? As we have heard from Mrs. Clinton a few days ago saying that there are Islamist groups being sent to Syria, and she warned against, countries who have been sending them. She didn't name the countries, but she warned against it because we have many Islamist groups, from Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, Al-Fatah, so many other Islamist groups that have infiltrated the opposition.
Tell me...
Also know. Yes.
Tell me, Ribal Al Assad, if you can, how do you think Syria got itself into this situation, and how did this flare up so quickly?
Well, first of all, they should have known from the beginning, that the regime is ready to do anything to stay in power. They're ready to use excessive force. So the more you're going to come and, choose the military option to fight this regime, the more they're going to be using overwhelming weapons, overwhelming force. Like in the beginning, they were using only the military secret services was involved, and then bit by bit they got the army involved, and then tanks. And now I've been warning: do not use weapons. We don't need any armed struggle in Syria. We should have a diplomatic solution, like the Kofi Annan plan, which didn't go anywhere because it was undermined. Everybody agrees on the Kofi Annan plan, and then a week later they decide to arm and fund the opposition. Saudi Arabia and Qatar and others have giving them $100 million at the Turkey conference meeting. How is that helpful? How is that gonna work? You see, we have to know the regime is ready to do anything to stay in power. And today they're using overwhelming force. They're using planes today.
If you were able to talk to your cousin, President Bashar Assad, what would you say to him?
Well, the most important thing I will be telling them what I've been saying for the past, 10 years, is that we have to have reforms. We have to move towards a peaceful transitional change to democracy. They have to change this mentality of the one-party rule, of the dictatorship. This cannot be. This is not sustainable. I've been saying that. This cannot be sustained. Yes.
So I was going to say, do you think that your cousin feels that he can retain his position whatever happens, or do you think he feels now that he has his back against the wall and as far as he's concerned it's a fight to the death?
Of course he knows that he is in a very difficult position. He knows that, but he also knows that he has a lot of allies. He has Iran, he has Lebanese parties like the Hezbollah in Lebanon, like Michel Aoun and his group, and many other factions, the Syrian National Party, the Ba'ath Party in Lebanon. He also has the Iraqi government and the pro-Iranian militias like the Sadr militias and others. He has the support of Russia and China. So it's someone who feels that he has great support internationally. He has support, he has the backing of those major powers, and he's using excessive force because he's certainly not going to give up powers. And he has seen what has happened, in Libya. He has seen what has happened in Egypt. And he does not want the same thing to occur again.
But has it not gone too far now? Would he not be better just asking for safe passage? He's been offered safe passage to other countries. Do you not think it would be an idea that he was to do that?
He should have done that from the beginning. But also, again, I've said in the beginning, Bashar is not in control. He's not in full control. He's more like, being controlled by the people around him. If we go back and see how Bashar came to power, Bashar was not his father. His father was the head of state, head of he was the president, head of the army, head of the Ba'ath Party. Bashar inherited all of those. He did not build the state in Syria. So the people around him, the only thing that made them accept him to become the president of Syria, it was that he could keep their interest in line. He came in the beginning, he did try. He did have, honestly, he wanted to make some changes. He wanted to introduce some, democratic steps, such as the Damascus Spring. But again, the people around him were much stronger. And he's someone, I don't think that he has such a strong personality. I think he gets scared. Those people around him scare him. And he has all the right to be scared. They are killers. Many of them are killers, and we have seen what they've been doing for the past 40 years. So I think if he goes against them, they wouldn't mind, even getting rid of him.
What if you could talk, and I don't know whether you have spoken to William Hague or not, but if you could talk to William Hague, if you could talk to Kofi Annan, if you could talk to Hillary Clinton, what would you say to them?
The most important thing, no, I haven't spoken to William Hague. I've only, I've only met him once at an event in London. But I would tell them that they cannot back only one opposition group. They cannot go on and act exactly like the regime and back, for example, the Syrian National Council, which is seen by 99% of Syrians that it is controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood. Even former members of the Syrian National Council, including Dr. Kamal Labwani, who was a member, and he left, and he said that the 80% Islamists, and they are worse than the regime. So how could we back an opposition? 99% of Syrian people are dreaming for democratic change. They're dreaming for having a democracy and freedom the same as we're having here. But they certainly not suffer under 40 years under that regime, under dictatorship, to be replaced by a theocracy. The Syrian people will not accept that. We all know how Syria is made up, of beautiful mosaic of people and different religions, sects, ethnicities, and they would never accept that. So I think the international community should bring, the opposition together. They should unite them on one platform to speak on a single voice, and then to enter into a diplomatic, such as the Kofi Annan plan. They have to, all parties have to abide by the Kofi Annan plan.
All right. One last question.
That's the only way out of the what we're going through.
All right. One last question, Ribal. When you look at the reports from Syria, from your homeland, from your country, when you see people arbitrarily being taken outside and a bullet put in the back of their heads, when you see the towns and the cities being reduced to rubble, how do you feel?
Honestly, James, I'm very depressed. Yesterday, I was speaking to a friend, and she's a member also of our group, and I told her all my life I've been dreaming to go back to my country and be able to move forward, to change, to be able to live in a democratic country, democratic Syria. That's why I was exiled since I'm a child, since I was 9 years old. And suddenly now it's turning into rumble complete. Damascus, a lot of parts in Damascus are completely destroyed. A lot of parts of Aleppo are being destroyed today. Homes is completely destroyed. Those people, what are they, what kind of future are they looking to have? Even if tomorrow all this opposition, or the regime, if the regime stays, what are they going to be, governing a country with thousands and thousands? And today we are at 20,000 dead. It could be in a few months or a year, hundreds of thousands of dead people. And the same thing, the opposition. We have, what are they going to be going back to? Are they going to be, if the regime goes and we're going to, they're going to go back and rule a country, completely destroyed and with, thousands and thousands of dead people? This is not what we want. We have to put hatred aside. We have to put grudges aside, and we have to build the future of our country together. That's the only way forward.
Ribal, I think it's a very, very unfortunate time, to say the least. I think it's tragic. I think it's very sad, and I feel sorry for the people of the Middle East every time I see these pictures, and every time I see people doing the appalling things to each other that they're doing. And what the answer is, I don't know. I certainly don't think giving money to either side is the answer. Ribal